What if I told you that sitting in your kitchen right now, there is food, ordinary everyday food that has the power to repair your DNA, switch off cancer-promoting genes, and literally starve tumors of the fuel they need to grow? No surgery, no prescription, no side effects, just food. Now, before you think I'm exaggerating or selling you something, stick with me, because what I'm about to share with you today is backed by serious, peer-reviewed science, and it could genuinely change how you think about every single meal you eat for the rest of your life. My name is Dr. Sophia Bennett. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going deep into one of the most fascinating and underreported areas in modern medicine, the relationship between the food you eat and the health of your DNA. Let's start with something that most people don't fully appreciate. Every single day, the DNA inside your cells takes damage. This is not a disease. This is not something that happens only to sick people. This is biology. It happens to every human being on the planet. Your cells are constantly bombarded by free radicals, environmental toxins, UV radiation, the byproducts of your own metabolism, and all of these things chip away at the genetic code inside your cells. Now, here's the critical part. Your body has built-in DNA repair systems, enzymes, and proteins that are specifically designed to find those damaged areas and fix them. The question isn't whether you have these systems. You do. The question is whether you're feeding them the raw materials they need to actually do their job. And this is where food becomes extraordinarily powerful. Scientists have now identified a class of natural compounds in certain foods that don't just support these repair systems. They actively enhance them. They switch on protective genes. And some of them do something even more remarkable. They interfere with the biological processes that cancerous cells depend on to survive. I want to walk you through the most powerful ones today, explain how they work, and tell you exactly how to get them into your daily diet. Let's talk first about sulforaphane. If you've never heard that word before, write it down, because this compound is one of the most studied anti-cancer molecules in nutritional science. Sulforaphane is found in cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, kale. But here's the thing, it's not actually present in the vegetable in its active form. When you chew or chop these vegetables, you break open the plant cells and trigger a chemical reaction that produces sulforaphane. This is the plant's own defense mechanism, and it turns out it's incredibly protective for us as well. Now, what does sulforaphane actually do inside your body? Research has shown that it activates a master regulatory protein called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as the head of security for your cells. When sulfur switches it on, NRF2 goes to work activating hundreds of genes involved in detoxification and antioxidant defense. It boosts the production of enzymes that neutralize carcinogens before they can damage your DNA. It enhances the cell's ability to identify and remove damaged proteins. And multiple studies have shown that sulforaphane can actually inhibit the growth of cancer cells, and in some cases trigger what's called apoptosis, that's programmed cell death, in tumor cells, while leaving healthy cells completely unharmed. That last point is crucial. This is not a blunt instrument. It's highly selective. Scientists at Johns Hopkins have been studying sulforaphane for decades, and the body of evidence is remarkable. And the best part, 3 to 5 servings of cruciferous vegetables a week gives you meaningful, measurable levels of this compound. Lightly steamed broccoli is one of your best sources. Raw is good, too, but slightly steaming it and letting it sit for a few minutes after chopping actually maximizes sulforaphane production. Now, let's talk about another compound that works through a completely different mechanism. And this one might actually surprise you. It's called resveratrol, and it's found in red grapes, blueberries, mulberries, peanuts, and yes, red wine in small amounts. Resveratrol has received a lot of attention over the years, and some of that attention has been oversimplified. But the real science behind it is genuinely impressive. Resveratrol activates a family of proteins called sirtuins, specifically SIRT. And these proteins play a central role in DNA repair, metabolic regulation, and cellular longevity. They're sometimes called the longevity genes for a reason. When these sirtuins are activated, they help your cells maintain the integrity of the genome. They assist in repairing double-strand DNA breaks, which are among the most dangerous forms of genetic damage. They also help regulate the expression of genes involved in inflammation. And chronic inflammation, as I've talked about on this channel before, is one of the primary environments in which cancer develops and spreads. But resveratrol does something else that deserves its own conversation. Cancer cells are extraordinarily hungry. They consume glucose at a rate 10 to 15 times higher than normal cells. This is called the Warburg effect, and it's one of the defining characteristics of malignant tumors. Resveratrol has been shown to interfere with this process. It inhibits certain enzymes that cancer cells rely on for energy production, essentially cutting off their food supply, while normal cells, which have far more metabolic flexibility, adapt just fine. You want resveratrol? Eat a handful of blueberries every day. Eat your red grapes. Add some mulberries to your morning smoothie. These are simple, delicious, and profoundly protective. Here's one that I think is criminally underappreciated in mainstream health conversations: quercetin. Quercetin is a flavonoid found in onions, particularly red onions, capers, apples, kale, and green tea. And it is a molecular multitasker like few others in the plant kingdom. Quercetin has the ability to bind to DNA toposomases, which are enzymes that cancer cells require to replicate their DNA when they divide. By interfering with these enzymes, quercetin essentially jams the machinery that cancer cells use to make copies of themselves. It also has potent anti-inflammatory properties. It inhibits the release of histamine. And this is where it gets really interesting. It works synergistically with other compounds. When quercetin is combined with resveratrol or with vitamin C, the protective effects are significantly amplified. Nature designed these compounds to work together, which is one of the strongest arguments for eating whole foods rather than isolated supplements. Now I want to spend a moment on something that I think fundamentally changes how you should think about this topic, and that is the concept of epigenetics. For a long time, we thought of genes as fixed. You get the genes you're born with, and that's your destiny. We now know that is not true. Your genes are more like switches, and your lifestyle, your environment, and critically your diet determine which of those switches get turned on and which get turned off. This is epigenetics, and it is one of the most exciting frontiers in modern medicine. What researchers have discovered is that certain foods contain compounds that directly influence these epigenetic switches. They can silence genes that promote tumor growth. These are called oncogenes, and they can activate genes that suppress it. These are called tumor suppressor genes. One of the most powerful epigenetic modulators found in food is a compound called EGCG, epigallocin gallate, and it is found in green tea. EGCG has been shown to influence DNA methylation patterns, which is one of the primary mechanisms through which genes are turned on or off. In cancer cells, tumor suppressor genes are often silenced through abnormal methylation. Essentially, the cell has muted the very genes it needs to prevent malignancy. EGCG can help reverse this process, reactivating those silenced genes and restoring the cell's ability to regulate its own growth. Drink 2 to 3 cups of high-quality green tea every day, and you are delivering meaningful amounts of EGCG directly to your cells. Matcha is an even more concentrated source. 1 cup of matcha is roughly equivalent to 10 cups of standard green tea in terms of EGCG content. Let's also talk about curcumin, because no conversation about cancer-fighting foods would be complete without it. Curcumin is the active compound in turmeric, and the research on it is extraordinary. Curcumin operates on multiple pathways simultaneously. It inhibits NF-κB, which is a protein complex that acts as a master switch for inflammation and is critically involved in cancer cell survival, which interferes with cancer stem cells, the particularly dangerous cells within a tumor that are responsible for regrowth and metastasis, which promotes apoptosis in cancer cells. And like EGCG, it has epigenetic effects, modulating the activity of enzymes that control gene expression. The challenge with curcumin has always been bioavailability. On its own, the body doesn't absorb it particularly well. But combine it with black pepper, specifically a compound in black pepper called piperine, and absorption increases by up to 2,000%. So, turmeric and black pepper together is not just a culinary tradition, it is biochemistry. Add it to your cooking, make golden milk, use it in soups and stews, and then there's omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, and anchovies. These fats incorporate themselves directly into your cell membranes and influence how your cells signal to each other. They are powerfully anti-inflammatory. They support the integrity of the DNA repair enzymes. And research has shown that higher omega-3 intake is associated with reduced risk of several cancers, including colorectal and breast cancer. Aim for 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week. If your plant-based algae-based omega-3 supplements give you the same EPA and DHA without the fish. So, what does the practical picture look like? What I want you to take away from today is not a rigid protocol or a complicated supplement regimen. I want you to think about building a diet that is naturally rich in these compounds every single day. Broccoli or Brussels sprouts several times a week. A daily handful of blueberries and red grapes. Red onions in your cooking as often as possible. 2 to 3 cups of green tea daily. Turmeric with black pepper in your meals. Fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week. These are not exotic ingredients. They are not expensive. They are available in virtually every grocery store on the planet. And when you consistently combine them, you are building a biochemical environment inside your body that makes it significantly harder for cancer to take hold and significantly easier for your DNA to stay healthy and intact. I want to be clear about one thing because I always believe in being straight with you. Food is not a cure. If you are dealing with a cancer diagnosis, you work with your oncology team. What I'm talking about today is prevention. And for those already in treatment, complementary support that works alongside conventional medicine. But the evidence for the protective power of these foods is real. It is compelling, and it is growing every year as nutritional science advances. Your body is not a passive recipient of whatever disease nature throws at it. You have more control than you've been led to believe. Every meal is a decision, and every decision is either supporting your cellular health or working against it. Start with one change today. Add broccoli to dinner tonight. Brew a cup of green tea. Throw some turmeric into whatever you're cooking. Small steps consistently taken create profound results over time. If this video gave you something valuable, share it with someone you love, because this is the kind of information that everyone deserves to have access to. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because every week on this channel, we break down the real science behind your health in a way that's practical and actionable. I'm Dr. Sophia Bennett. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other.